Prezi presentation that exists from last semester. But I'm going to highlight just a couple of the things since we're supposed to focus a little bit more on one thing. So I agree with Lisa, and I would add on that it's kind of nice. If you find one thing, I thought it was worth my time. Also, once you kind of have an object in your hand, you find other ways to use it, right? So once you have it, then you have apps gone free, and every now and then you find an app and you go, huh. So when I'm done with my major thing, I'll show you a couple of other things I found. So my use is focused on some label and drawing, which is what I'm going to focus on today. I did get slightly addicted to iMovies and iMovie trailers, and I've made a few. I've used the iMovies just to kind of break the ice when students seem like particularly stressed out about certain subjects, just to give them a laugh and give them a break. And they amazingly appreciate those. It's hysterical. It helps me stay very, very organized, and I have a whole bunch of things on my list to try in the future. So what I focused on, what I decided to focus on today, if I can now watch the Prezi not work, because I want it to work. Anyway, we'll go to it. So is a whiteboard app called Doceri. Okay? Now, the courses I teach are Bio 2050 and Bio 2060. So they're very, very content heavy, very visual. What is on my iPad is not what is on the screen. So we'll solve that problem in a second. And just tons and tons and tons of things to know. So the way the course breaks down is we do physiology and lecture. And that's understanding how things work to keep us alive. Then in lab we do anatomy, which is the names of the parts and what the parts do and how the structure of the parts relates to the function. So the two, it's kind of like having two classes for the price of one. And it still hasn't turned, but whatever. And it's so much content that it catches them by surprise. So everything I try to use in my iPad in the classroom and out of the classroom is related to that. Something that's very visual, but very, very content heavy, and requires daily practice. Because they have a tendency of, I'll catch up on the weekend. And AMP1 has 106 learning objectives throughout the semester, each of which has multiple parts to it. So they have to kind of get in this habit of out of thinking that they can catch up on the weekend. So we have a 7th hour in the week in AMP called recitation. And recitation is meant for review and practice, not delivery of new content. So that's where I've been using these a lot. Back in the day, I would bring up a PowerPoint slide and borrow some pictures from Google Images, hoping that they were our model or our representation. That didn't always happen. Back in the day, I would attempt to use colored markers on the dry erase marker board, but I am not artistically gifted, so that lends to itself to other problems. So what I love about this whiteboard app is the students like it, first of all. I don't have hard data, but I can tell you that they all, when we practice these, they appreciate it, and I'll demonstrate for you how I use it. What I also like about them is they're extremely easy to make, so I'll make a quick one when I'm done. Really quick and fast. You don't need artistic talent, yay, to do it. If you have it, even better. And I don't have to use dry erase markers anymore, because I actually joke with my student that, coal miners used to get black lung disease, and teachers in the 50s and 60s would get white lung disease. And I used to joke and say, I'm going to get dry erase marker dust disease. But I don't have to worry about dry erase markers anymore. Plus, when you try and buy 13 colors of dry erase markers, they're kind of expensive. So the way I do this in class is I'll say, all right, we're going to do some practice and review. You can help each other. I don't want you to call out. I want you to practice writing, because spelling counts, and they struggle with spelling. Okay? And I'll say, but you can turn to your neighbor and help each other. Now the cool thing, and just kind of came to pass, is that when you grab an arrow, you can choose colors. Okay? So I have multiple colors for arrows, but notice how it's not showing up there. So every time I change to a highlighter or an arrow or a spray paint or I erase, the students don't see me manipulating my little menu here. They only see the picture. All right, so I may pull this up and I may say, all right, everybody, so that rubber sheet, write down the name of that rubber sheet. What is that? In the human body, what does that rubber sheet represent? Biologist. Diaphragm. Very good. What is its function?
In and out, put pressure of air.
Excellent. Very good.
That's what
Very good. I'm really impressed by that. Actually, that's exactly what I would have said to a student, too. I'm really impressed by that. So how does it help with the pressure in the in and out? Do you remember from class?
No.
You can say no.
I don't.
So if everybody could help, first I usually say, does anyone else want to help him? Does anyone else want to help Brian? Remember? Oh, it's not a problem. No problem, I understand. Right? So then we talk about the fact that it contracts, and when it contracts, it changes the volume of the thoracic cavity, which changes the pressure inside.
Right, and then you can go on in chemistry and say they're inversely proportional.
And which law is that?
Bob Boyle's law.
That is Boyle's law. Very good. All right. Anyone know what do the? But that's exactly how we use it. What do the balloons inside the bell jar represent? What organ?
Lungs.
Very good. Lungs. What are they for?
Exchanging gas.
Gas exchange. Which gases?
Oxygen.
Oxygen and carbon dioxide. Inside the cavity of the lungs, is the partial pressure of oxygen high or low? Is the partial pressure of oxygen in the lungs high or low?
Right now, low.
It's generally high. But again, you have not sat through my lecture where we talked about that. Okay, so at this stage in the game, in lecture we talked about partial pressures and where the gradients are and how the Boyle's law, Dalton's law, Henry's law, Bohr effect, we'd have talked about all these things already. So you can see I was just using it to review. I've got anatomy there. There's a larynx. That is called the laryngeal prominence. This thing right there, I'm going to use every single function I can to demonstrate. All right, the laryngeal prominence outside of class, you call it an Adam's apple. Okay, and it is a cartilage structure of the voice box. This right here, again, using every function I have here. Oh, let me change the color. Okay, here we go. So again, every function I've got there. That's the only bone in the human body that does not articulate with another bone.
Hyoid bone.
Very good, hyoid bone. Anybody into forensics?
Hyoid will tell me how you were strangled.
Yes, it does, because it fractures with very little force. All right, these are the sheep lungs, and again, it's really, we use these in the lab, and there's very few pictures of these. So I would ask my students, what is this groove? It's called the cardiac notch. And what organ sits inside? The heart. Very good. All right. So again, now there's a model of our lungs from lab, so I may point at things, I may ask them functions, and then I can also ask things like, all right, this function is called the what? And they'll say it's carina. And I say, why is it clinically important? And it's a landmark used in intubation when they put breathing tubes down, I believe, right? Because that's what I've been told. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So, could I do this and then stick it up in Twitter?
Yes. I don't know how tweet bird thing works. This does allow you to record. I don't use that particular function. But, because I always want to say twit, and then I realize that's not a nice word. Anyway, it does allow you to record, which is one of my future plans. I haven't placed out yet how I want to record things in my brain, but it does allow you to record. So you could, in theory, record something small and put it in Twitter or any other situation where you want to
put
video.
it up on YouTube and link to it easily.
Yeah.
You
right
definitely
there, so,
could, because it does allow you to do that. And so sometimes also I've used it to diagram. This is the limit of my artistic ability. And it's pathetic, I know, but whatever. So it's not like Dylan. But I'll draw things out. I've had a couple of times when I've walked in and for whatever reason the computer in the lab, like the projector, the light bulb was out. In our labs we have all nice new touch screens, but when we used to have the electronic pen, a lot of times the electronic pen would die and wouldn't work. And I got addicted to the E-pen like the moment it arrived in the classroom many years ago. So when that would die, I'd be like, it would be catastrophic. So to me, again, no more dry erase markers, no more worries about is the pen working, I have to send in a ticket, did the projector bulb go out, the projector bulb will still go out. But anyway, none of those logistical issues that I used to have, they've all pretty much been solved. Let's see, what else can I tell you about them? They're extremely easy to make. So I'm going to make one right now. So all I did is I went into the menu, there's a little plus sign, and you click it, right? And then if I wanted to add in a picture, there's in the menu across the, I go into this little icon here that's got the landscape picture. Usually what I do is I go around ahead of time, and I've pulled pictures in, so you can see on my camera roll I've got tons of pictures from the lab, but I can do one right now. I can go to my camera. So smile, everybody. Some of you aren't smiling. All right, very good. Thank you very much. All right, so now if I go back in, see, problem solved. There it is.
Perfect.
There's all of you. All right. So identify this goofball sitting in the class at the back. That would be Brian's suit. Yeah, okay. This young lady. Yeah, what department does she teach
Think about how
in?
that would create community in your classroom just to do that.
Yeah. So I said I've done recitation activities. Usually I do it with fair frequency. I just don't save them. But I have students work on an individual thing. I pull them all in and we talk about them at the end. It's kind of a report back kind of activity. So it's just really, really easy to use, very quick and dirty, solved a lot of problems for me. I love the whiteboard apps. The other things I kind of got into were the iMovie. And I immediately started playing because, I'm very visual and kinesthetic myself. Like if I can only learn it if I can manipulate it, right? If I have to come back later, I've forgotten already. So as he was chatting, I immediately started just playing with the iMovie trailer as he was telling us about it. And so I ended up creating a few. They're simply meant to be funny because, again, in my class, it's really content heavy. And in AMP2, the second one in the series, is content heavy all semester long. AMP1, the first 2 weeks of class are things they already know, and I think it's like a stealth bomber. It unfortunately lulls them into the, I got this, no problem. And then one day we hit chapter 4, which is called the tissues. So this semester, literally, I walked out of the lab at 9:30, and they were all stressed out about the tissues. And we had lecture at 11 a.m., and so immediately, between the two, it literally took 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes. I made a little love story video for the tissues because they were so upset. And they laughed hysterically when it was over. Now, it won't make any sense. So that's why they had to study them. Those are from my lecture presentation. Histology is the study of tissues. That's just a cool picture I stole off of them. And at this point, they thought I was serious, and I had to remind them, you guys have to convince yourselves that you love the tissues, because otherwise this next 2 weeks is going to be horrifying. Then notice how the music starts changing. The templates, the music is all in there, the transitions are all in there, you just have to choose which one you want. This is when they started to laugh. And those are all things that we had done in the lab that morning. Alright, so I don't want to bore you with the whole thing. The first one I made, which is hands down still my favorite, was the skeletal system. So this is the one I was playing around with in class. After class, I actually took pictures of our lab and I made it. So this is my favorite one, and it makes me laugh. And even my kids and my husband are like, I don't get it. I'm like, shut up, I get it, it's funny to me. Okay. And it's just to make them laugh because they're stressed out. And we do have a closet. That's our closet. And the students go, oh, wow, that's the closet. Yes, it is. That's the skeleton in the closet. It gets exciting in a second. It's the library. We're chatting one day about these movies, and we were meeting with Mimi breasts in biology. We were like, wouldn't it be nice if they listened to us? And the first day of class, we're like, you gotta be responsible. You gotta turn your stuff in on time. You gotta care, right? Then we realized, well, they don't really listen to us, but maybe they'll listen to each other. So Sherry and I started playing around with this. Look, I've already uploaded it. I think I uploaded it and pulled it off my iPad. But anyway, so Sherry got permission from some of her students, and we did our first video that was students talking to each other. So we even gave them a name. What do we call them? Student-to-student success videos. Yes. And so we interviewed some of our students after class one evening, and we got just some great footage about them telling each other to be responsible, and some of them saying, this isn't high school anymore, your professors aren't going to call you at home and check in with you, make sure you did your assignment. So stay tuned for more student-to-student success videos. I even, for the introduction in the end, I used the templates we're supposed to use that are on the portal. I used pictures from the templates so we don't get in trouble. Because we're waiting for somebody to get